Blog Talk Radio.
What's up, everybody? My name is Clifton Pettyjohn, and you are listening to Transformation Radio, where we transform lives through purposeful conversations. Have you ever gotten to a place in life where you find yourself asking, what now? That's right, what now? Circumstances and situations have happened. You feel as if you've been hit from the left and the right. You feel as if nothing that you do ends up working out the way that you desire for it to work out, and you just don't know what you need to do right now. The reality is we've all been there. And sometimes we've been there without the tools, techniques, and strategies to help us make effective decisions to produce the future that we desire. You don't have to do this alone anymore. I invite you to listen to my podcast. That's right, my name is Clifton Pettyjohn. I'm a purpose strategist, author, transformation coach, and spiritual leader. And I host the What Now podcast. And the What Now podcast is simply conversations that teach us how to effectively face life's most difficult moments. That's right, life's most difficult moments. So, if you're interested in hearing the podcast, I encourage you to visit my website, www.cliftonpettyjohn.com. Again, www.cliftonpettyjohn.com. There's a tab for the podcast, and you can pick your favorite platform. We're available on multiple platforms, so you can pick your favorite platform, pick the platform, subscribe to the podcast, listen, comment, and share. All right? So I encourage you again, make sure that you are listening to the What Now podcast. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Transformation Radio. That's right, where we transform lives through purposeful conversations, regardless of how uncomfortable and unpopular those conversations are. My name is Clifton Pettyjohn, and I'm excited to be with you on tonight. I have an amazing guest. We're going to get to him in a minute. However, before we get to our guest, I always like to remind us that you are welcome to call in at any time during the show. The show is open for you to call in. You can be a part of the conversation. We want you to be a part of the conversation, but I also want all callers to understand that it is okay to disagree with my guests. It's okay to disagree with me. It's okay to disagree with other callers, but we're going to do it in a respectful manner. If we cannot be respectful of each other, then we're going to have to decide not to call in anymore, okay? But I believe we're all going to be respectful. Like I said, we have an amazing guest tonight. He has an awesome story, and I believe that your life's going to be transformed from hearing this man's personal story, okay? So here's the call-in number. The call-in number is 516-387-1756. Again, 516-387-1756, all right? So without further ado, let's welcome to the show Derrick Gordon. Derrick, how are you?
Hey, what's going on? I'm doing great. How are you?
Definitely glad to hear that. I'm doing great as well. I'm excited about this conversation. And I'm excited because, like I said, I believe people are going to be impacted from it. They're going to be encouraged from it. And I believe that they're going to even become more comfortable in being who they are as they hear your personal journey.
Yeah, one of the things, personally for me, I love inspiring people, however way I can. So that's one of the things I live and abide by every single day. So I hope this conversation that we have tonight can help others who are struggling and whatever areas they may be struggling with. And, yeah, I'm ready to get started.
All right, let's go then. So I start with a light question. I ask every guest this same question just to be a little icebreaker, okay? So the first question is, if you had one superpower, what would that superpower be and why?
Probably to never die, honestly. Just because I'm curious to see as far as, how the world is going to be when it's like 2080 and 2090 and so on and so forth. So, just a power I just can't die. Like I'm indestructible. So, I stay young. I can pick an age at where I want to live for the rest of my life. A superpower like that. So, I think you can't really beat
I feel you.
when it comes to that.
Right. Okay, the next thing that we do before we get into the conversation is we play a quick game of word association, okay? I have about 6 words, I believe it is. When I say these words, I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. It can be one word, it can be a sentence. You can elaborate on it however you want to do it, okay?
All right. Okay.
The first word is life. Life.
Is that for me or in general? Like what I think about life?
Just in general. What you think about life, the first thing that comes to your mind.
It's beautiful, able to breathe and walk this earth every day and do what I love to do.
Perfect. Okay. Purpose.
Change the world.
Acting.
I didn't hear you say it again.
Acting.
You said acting?
Yes, acting.
Oh, acting. I love it. It's a lot better than I thought it would be. I love it just as much as when I was playing basketball, believe it or not. I love how, you can go into different characters and, be somebody who you never thought you could be, in acting, of course.
Okay. Now, staying right there on that word real quick, how did you get into acting?
So I had a manager reach out to me probably about 2.5, 3 years ago, and just asked me, honestly. He reached out to me and just asked if I wanted to get involved in TVs and movies and things like that. I didn't really think anything of it, believe it or not, because this was just after when I had to come to grips that, I wasn't going to be playing basketball anymore. And when I had to come to grips with that, it was a dark time for me, I have to be honest. I was stunned. I couldn't believe it that, I was ending my career at such a young age when, I kind of, thought I was going to be playing basketball till, my mid-30s, But I always watched, the Oscars and Golden Globes and, always fantasized of how cool it would be to be part of something so special like that. And, so he asked me, I didn't think anything of it, but I did a pilot in New York. And this was my first time, acting on camera and everything, and I fell in love with it. I remember we were shooting a subway scene at like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was just so energetic and just wanted to learn more about, what goes into becoming an actor and just stuff behind the scenes. And, the feedback that I got from the producers, from that pilot was they said I was a natural. They thought, I've been acting, my entire life. And, for me, that was kind of like, my calling card as to this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I was happy doing it. It brought back, joy in my life as far as, that joy that I used to have when I was playing basketball. So it was like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. Just like I said, it was more of like me just trying to see, okay, let me give this a try, but then come to find out, like, wow, I absolutely enjoy it.
Okay. Now, let's segue in. We'll finish the game a little later, but let's segue into talking about basketball because you were talking about, how you came to grips with you not being able to play anymore in your career ending at such a young age. At what age did you start playing basketball?
Oh, probably when I was like 6, 7. When my father put the basketball in my hands, of course. I tried a couple different sports, but, I wrestled, played baseball, football, but basketball, in a way kind of stuck out. I'm the tallest in my family. And I was tall at such a young age, so, I had an advantage over a lot of people growing up, especially in middle school. So, yeah, I would say practically, my whole life. But then when I just strictly played basketball, it probably started, like, in middle school, and I didn't play any other sport because I wanted to just focus on one sport.
I feel you. So when you started playing in middle school, were you the star of the team, or were you like on a dream type team?
No, I was the star of the team.
Okay.
But for middle school, it's so interesting because when I was in 6th grade, I don't know if they do this at every middle school now, but they give I guess the upperclassmen a chance to like play more because they're leaving. So it was more like for me, I was in 6th grade. I was playing a lot, and I knew the coaches knew I was better than most 7th and 8th graders, but they let them play ahead of me because they were graduating and going to high school and stuff like that. So, but I'll say for me, when I started to reach my peak, as far as like I think that I can do something with this, was probably my 7th grade year was when I kind of like broke out. I would say as far as like on the national stage, I broke out and people started to, really recognize me. And that's when I had to decide when it came close to, when I was getting ready to graduate and go to high school, it was either, okay, I go to, my local high school, Plainfield High School, or I go to a private school. And I remember St. Patrick's in Elizabeth, New Jersey, the number 1 high school team in the country, for so many years. And, when I watched them play, I was like, this is where I want to go. This is where I want to play at. And what's funny is that, I went in there and I had such a big head because, people were telling me I was this and I was that. My freshman year, they tried to put me on JV instead of varsity my freshman year. That caught me off guard. So I'm like, are you serious? So I tried to transfer. Like, literally, the season didn't even start yet, and I was already looking to transfer. And I was going to go back to, Plainfield High School, and literally, this is how I know it wasn't meant to be. My mom took my transcripts to Plainfield High School, and the computers weren't working that day for some reason. So I wasn't able to get put into the system. Literally the next day, because I slept on it. I said, all right, yeah, maybe it's not meant to be. And the next day I decided to say, you know what, I'm going to just stay at St. Pat's. And then, of course, the next day the computers were working. So I was like, yeah. That was, I'm always a firm believer in, things happen for a reason. And it just wasn't meant for me to, be going there. So.
I feel you. Now, how was private school versus public school? Was there a big difference there? Was there a big adjustment for you? Or did you kind of just ease right into it?
The only adjustment I would say is 2 things. Of course, you got to wear a uniform, so it's more like, dress pants, shoes, the St. Patrick's sweater. They had a long sleeve, shirt sleeve, a button-up shirt, tie. You had to go all out, and, you'll get, like, fines, if you didn't, like, have a tie or something like that. It was crazy. It was, I wasn't used to that at all. So, right. But and that particular high school was probably only a total of like 120 students total. So going from, hundreds and hundreds of kids in the school to narrowing it down to, only 120 students is just like, the school wasn't that big. It really wasn't that big whatsoever. And you'll be amazed just looking at the school, and you'll be like, wow, like this school has the number one high school basketball team in the country. It was crazy because a lot of people that were going there, the school was in Elizabeth at the time, Elizabeth, New Jersey. It's not there anymore. They moved somewhere else. But everybody who went there, they weren't from Elizabeth. They were from somewhere else, and you had a lot of people who went there who wasn't even from New Jersey. So, it was definitely a school it was a school that a lot of people wanted to go into, and you had to pay. So I had to go through that whole process of getting somebody to pay for my scholarship and all of this stuff. It was, and it was just very, very sweet. This family, gosh, I should remember their name, but it was so long ago. But, they were very sweet, and they paid for my tuition all 4 years. So.
Oh, that's what's up. That was a blessing.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So when in high school did you realize that going to playing Division I basketball was an option, or is that something you knew straight in middle school, or is it something that developed later in high school?
I would say probably my 8th grade year. There was this game that they held every year, and it was called New York versus New Jersey. So the best players from New Jersey play against the best players from New York. And that was a breakout game for me. Everybody was talking about me even more, and I remember sitting there talking with my father and talking to him and telling him that I think I have a chance, but I the only way, I want to go play, go to the best school I possibly can, because I didn't feel like Plainfield High School, my local school, was going to get me to that point as far as put me on that stage that I wanted to be on. St. Patrick's, they were playing on ESPN and getting tons of media spotlight, and there will be times in practice there will be like 15 college coaches on the baseline watching our practice, and I just started to notice every year, even JV, they were still like looking at me even though I was playing JV. So I kind of knew like, okay, like if they're watching me and I'm playing JV and not varsity, then that goes to show, I definitely, they saw the potential. And I still remember seeing, coaches like Billy Donovan, who was at Florida at the time, but he's now coaching he's coaching at Oklahoma City Thunder, and seeing Tom Izzo, who coaches at Michigan State, and just seeing all these coaches in person, and it's just like, wow, like this, like to me, it's like every kid's dream to like honestly like sit there and like coaches lined up like watching your practice. It's incredible. It's an incredible experience, and like I think any athlete, regardless of sport, should experience that, because it's truly amazing.
Now, how did you handle all of that? Because did you feel pressure playing in front of these coaches, or did you just zone in and play your game?
Oh, I mean, of course, at the beginning, I was just like, I was nervous. Like this, understand, I was freshman year, it wasn't that many because, as I said, they weren't really coming to JV, but, the varsity head coach and assistant, they were talking to the recruiters about me. That, after his freshman year, he'll be a sophomore, so he'll be playing varsity, yada, yada, yada. So my sophomore year, when I started, when I moved up to varsity, and I remember that's when I was competing against, upperclassmen. So I was playing against Dexter Strickland, who was like the top 10 player in his class, and, he was going to the University of North Carolina at the time. Me and him was going at it every practice. And, that I think that kind of brought the competitiveness out me even more, because, he was a trash talker as well. We both were. And for some reason, the college coaches, they liked it because they, just competitive, and, because when you look at it, we're getting each other better. That's really what it's all about, So, but the first couple times I was nervous just because it's like you want to, like, you want to, you don't want to make a mistake. You want to, give your absolute best. You want to make every shot. You want to, steal the ball as much as you want to do everything right. So, but what I came to learn is that you just got to play. You can't, and that's one of the things that, if I could rewind time, like I wish mentally I was better. I wish I was better because there were times where, I would worry about, oh, damn, I missed this shot. Oh, what are they going to think, this and that. Like, so I would say, like, yeah, like mentally I could have been a lot stronger than I was back then. But I'm not saying that it affected my play, but, I would worry too much about what people are going to think if I don't, perform every game, which, you got to understand, there will be games where, you don't play well, and I didn't take that well, like especially losing. I didn't take losing well. I don't care if it was, a regular pickup game in practice. I wanted to win at everything. And I think that's what made me who I am today. I was just very competitive. I hated losing. I had to win at all costs. So, but as I look back, it was just, I said, I'm just very grateful and very fortunate to, like I said, be in that position, have, schools, calling me. I still remember Virginia. I was on my way home after school, and I remember the assistant coach called me and said, "Where are you?" And I said, "I'm leaving." He was like, "Oh, by the way, the Virginia Tech coach is here to see you, the head coach." And it's like, to see me? Like,
wow.
Like that, when they were telling me stuff like that, like, it's just like, wow, it's like, and I'm only in 10th grade, so it was just incredible. It was like, wow, it would be amazing. Like, it's like, we could rewind time and do things all over again. I would go through that whole process all over again from freshman year to senior year, all over again. I would do things a little differently as far as taking my 5 official visits, because any time, when you're a senior, you get 5 official visits that you could take to, the schools that's looking at you. I cut that off. So I ended up committing to a school when I was the end of my sophomore year going into my junior year. So I didn't go along with the process as far as like, being patient, and, that's one of the things that I somewhat regret. I don't really have regrets in my life, but that I would say I wish, it's not a regret. I just wish I would have been more patient and not rush, because, when you go on any visit, college coaches are going to treat you like kings. They're going to roll out the red carpet for you.
Absolutely.
So, and when I went on my first visit, which was to Western Kentucky University, I immediately jumped on it. I was just like, oh my gosh, like the arena is amazing, the locker room is amazing, the campus, and I'm like, when I was thinking about it, I'm like, I'm about to be in Kentucky. Which to me, it was like, Jersey boy in Kentucky, like, yeah.
Right.
But I will say I had a blast there when I was there. I did have a blast. But if I had one regret, yeah, it was just to be more patient. And that's when, honestly, I became more, moving forward in my life. I'm 28 now. I'm much more patient than I was, years and years ago. So yeah, I don't really have that many regrets like that.
I feel you. So now let's go back, because you're talking about, all of the great part of everything that happened in high school with you. Like, it sounds like a dream to a lot of people. But I want you to give the backdrop too, as if we can talk a little bit about you growing up as a kid, because I always like people to realize that the people I invite on the show, it's possible for it to happen to those that are listening as well. Sometimes those that are listening feel as if, that'll never happen to them because of where they live at, their economic status, other things like that. So what was it like growing up for you?
One of the things I always tell people, and it's like, and I'm going to get into it, I always tell people, like, regardless of where you are in life, you can always come out on top. Like, when people try to play that card as far as, my situation, and listen, like, where I grew up at, I just say it was gang heavily over there. You know, Bloods, Crips, and all of that stuff. Like I could have easily taken that route just because I grew up in that. You know, but that's not what I wanted for my life. So we all have decisions. You know, we all can make that right decision to not do those things. We all have a choice. So for me, I stayed away from that. And that's one of the reasons why, honestly, why I didn't want to go to the Plainfield High School is because of that. Like I knew that environment wasn't good for me. Like it just wasn't good for me. Now, don't get me wrong. If I wasn't able to go there, by all means, even though the environment was bad, I still would have made sure, like, okay, like I know what's right and what's wrong and what I should and shouldn't be doing. But it's all about who you hang around with. You know what you mentally. You know, for me now, like I'm a huge believer in the law of attraction and just the power of the mind and just the people surrounding yourself around good positive people and I realized that a lot of things happened to me in my past was for one because of the people I used to hang around with and how I think and you'll be amazed of once you change up your circle as far as like if you don't have people in your circle that are pushing you or wanting the best for you, vice versa. Then to be honest with you, and that's just me personally, I cut a lot of people out of my life just because I felt like they were almost bringing me down. But yeah, that's how I say. I ain't gonna sit up here and say Plainfield is like, Chicago or one of those places. But just how I said, I think every place, every city has its own like little neighborhood that's a bad neighborhood where you shouldn't be hanging out at, but. I got involved in that a little bit. As I said, until like I had a huge wake up call that, changed my life forever. But we'll get into that. But yeah, it's like regardless of where you're from, like and I can also bring up and I'm sure people who are struggling with their sexuality, they could say well, look at where I live at and things like that, and I understand that. I totally do, but I knew for a fact for me, like I wasn't gonna let other people control my happiness because that's almost in a way like letting someone, basically somebody telling you like, listen, like they're not telling you, but in a way they are like, don't come out because we're not gonna mess with you anymore. That's basically it's almost like that you letting people control your life. I'm 28 years old. Excuse my language, but I'll be damned. I'll let anybody on this earth tell me how I should be living, who I should be dating, who I should be talking to. I don't know. It's first of all, it's 2020, and the fact that we still have conversations like this it baffles me so much that like why is this even a conversation still? Like when I came out, it still feels like it was yesterday, but it's like you would think that probably another big-time athlete would have came out professionally or this, and it's just like, nope. Like, nope. If people are coming out, they're coming out after they're done playing.
Absolutely.
Right? I think me and Jason and Jason Collins and Michael Sam, and there were a couple people were the only players who came out and were still actively playing almost. But there have been a ton of people. Huh?
I said absolutely.
Yeah, so it's just, don't get me wrong. It's easy for me to say this now as far as just because of, I came out and everything, but don't use that as an excuse, like, okay, where I'm from, like, it's not possible or this and that. Because, hey, listen, like, I just, was talking to somebody on Instagram, and, sent me a direct message, and I told him, he said, I'm thinking about telling my parents. And I said, listen, if you're not 100% comfortable, meaning regardless of how they act, whether it's positive or negative, you're still going to be happy, you're still going to be fine, then don't do it. Because I had to tell myself that regardless of what my parents may feel or say, as long as I'm happy, I don't care.
Right.
Like, only reason why I looked at it is like I'm telling my parents off the fact of out of respect because they're my parents. That's the only reason. But if you're not like in that have that state of mind that like I don't care what anybody's gonna say or feel, then you're not ready. Which is fine. It's okay to not be ready to come out. But that's why I never force people to come out. I always tell people, I can give you all the advice in the world, but I will never force you or tell you, you should come out this time, you should come out that time. Everybody's journey as far as that is different. It took me, when I came to realize that this is who I was, it took me 3 years. After the fact, I knew that, this is who I was, So it's like, it takes time for everyone. But what I wasn't going to let happen, I wasn't going to be 30, 40, 50 years old and then, I wasn't. That's one of the things I told myself I will not do. Be that old and then all of a sudden come out now. I wasn't doing that. There's so many people who are in that position, especially that end up with kids, then they feel even more like, they go even more deep into the closet, like, there's no way this is possible now. I got kids now and this and that. And, I feel bad. It's just, it sucks that, because I said, I know a lot of people who are, bisexual, a lot of people. And, it baffles me because it's like, they tell me I want to tell my wife, but I think it's too late in the game, and it's never too late. Like, I don't care how old you are. You 50, 60, it is never too late. Like, I had a girlfriend at the time when I came out. We were still together. She found out, and I apologized to her because I said, listen, I couldn't tell you at the time, because if I would have told you before it would have came out publicly, you probably would have tried to out me, this and that. So that was a risk that I took. Like, if you want to be mad at me for that, then be mad at me for that. But I couldn't tell her. She found out when it came out on ESPN about my story. I didn't even tell her. She just happened to see it on the news, and boom. Yeah, so she has all the right to, but and that's another thing when you look at it. In a way, it's like you got a lot of these guys out here who are, in a way, you're using these females to hide who you really are, which is, in a way, you're messing their life up too. So and that's why I felt bad, because it was like, in a way, I'm messing her life up, so. But as I said, everybody, situation and story is different. People may not want to come out, especially in sports, because they don't want to, they don't want to get let go and this and that. And this, I didn't care about any of that. Like, I was, like, of course, if I would have stayed in the closet, 100% I'll be in the NBA, 100%.
Oh,
but
I believe that.
I didn't. But I looked at it as, you know what? My happiness is more important. I'm not going to be here, having a girlfriend and, this girl, that girl. And really, that's not what I want, just because of the NBA. No. If that's how they feel, they can have that. They can keep it. Like, I don't want to be part of that, period. So, yeah. And then you can come out of any situation. Of course, surround yourself around the right people. And one thing I always tell people, because for me, I didn't really have anybody to talk to. I remember all the times I'm talking to my mom on the phone in college, and, she would always ask me, how's everything going? And I would always tell her, everything is fine, which I was lying in a way, and I felt so bad because I could tell my mom anything, but I couldn't tell her that. So I would say you just have to find that one person. Like I always tell people, I try to reach out, get back to as many people as I can, but the best way to reach me, honestly, is through my Instagram. Just send me a direct message. I'm always on there, like, checking my direct message, because just like I said earlier, there are always people, sending me messages on there and asking me, the steps that I took and this and that, and so if you want to reach out to me, the best way is just, as they say, slide in my DMs, and then I'll get back to you.
Yeah, I just had this conversation last night with my guest as well, and we were talking about how, with our stories, how we didn't have anybody to talk to, so we make sure now that we let everybody possible know, if this is what you're going through, I am a resource to you, because I feel like that is so important when you're making, you know, that life type of decision, that you have somebody that you can trust, you know, that can help guide you along the way. Like you said, not force you to do anything, but just be there sometimes just to listen. Now I want to ask you a question about coming out, since we went on through that. What did you realize that, did you identify as bisexual or did you identify as gay when you came out?
Oh, gay. No.
Okay. No. Here's why I'm asking. And I guess I meant to ask you that. I knew that when you came out, you identified as gay. I remember, you know, so, but I meant when when was it you first realized that you had attraction to men?
That's going way back before I even came out, actually. I knew there was definitely something going on, because for me, when I was in middle school, I would always, like, look at my male teachers. And I just thought it was a phase, though. You know what I mean? I'm like, you know, it wasn't just, like, looking at them. Like, I used to, like, look at them. Not everyone, not every older guy.
I feel you.
But, you know, most of my teachers, it's funny that we were talking about this, but yeah, I used to look at them, and believe it or not, some coaches, and just thought it was a phase. Honestly, I was like, there's no way. Like, maybe I'm sure that eventually, you know what I mean, like, pass over and I won't be, you know, doing this anymore. But I had to get it out of the way, so I said, you know what? So I was at Western Kentucky. This was during fall break. So fall break is in December and January, which means basically the school is out for 2 months, and, you know, athletes, mainly, you know, who's ever in season, they get put up in hotels because the campus is closed for like 2 months. And I forgot what app it was. It wasn't Grindr or Scruff or anything like that. It was something else. It was just, you know, I can't even remember the name of it, but I was talking to this guy. It was from Nashville. And it was one night, and he was like, hey, like, you know, you want to get together finally? And I'm saying to myself, I'm just like, all right, you know what, let's do it. Because I'm like, okay, this is going to be the determined factor for me if, you know, if this is what I like, or, maybe I'm just by or whatever it may be. So I get one of the players' cars, and I drive over there. You have to understand, I'm in Bowling Green, Kentucky, which is a very, very, very small town. So I'm like, there's no way that we're meeting in the daytime. Let's just wait till nighttime. I think it was probably like 9, 10 o'clock at night. You have to understand, the more that I look back at it, I don't know what the hell I was thinking, because, like, this situation to me is like, what am I doing? Like, this is, like, doesn't even sound safe. Well, sorry, because we were meeting at
Right.
So I'm like, I'm sitting there driving. I don't even know who this. I mean, he showed me pictures of himself, but I don't know who this guy is. Like, nothing about him, whatever. So we get there, we're in the motel room, and I'm just like, my legs are just like shaking. I'm so nervous. I keep like looking over my head, you know, before I get into the hotel room, looking over my shoulder to see if, you know, somebody's gonna, you know, say Derrick or something like that. And, you know, we go in a room, and I'm sitting on the edge of the bed. And we went to use the bathroom. He comes out the bathroom. I'm still on the edge of the bed, and just like, you know, playing with my fingers. And, you know, he, like, in a way, like, he pulls me back onto the bed to, like, lay back. And, you know, one of the things that I would take away from that, and that was funny, I was telling a friend this story earlier, is the kissing part. Everything else I didn't enjoy. I didn't at all. Like, I wasn't, like, you know, when you get to talking, you know, when he said, I remember he talking about, like, top, bottom, versatile bottom. I'm like, what is that? Like, I didn't know anything about, I didn't know nothing about that at the time. So I'm like, I don't know. So long story short, let's just say he got off, but I didn't. That's how uncomfortable I was. But the one part I did enjoy, that I will say, I did enjoy the kissing part. The kissing part, I definitely enjoyed. I took that away, and I was like, yeah, that's a lot better than kissing a girl. Believe it or not, like, yeah, so much better. Like, and then I was like, yeah, maybe I'm bi. And then I started to notice that my sexual drive for girls started to decrease, like dramatically. Like I went from I had a girlfriend at the time to practically having sex with her once every few nights, and that started to decrease, and the kissing part started to decrease, and the smell of a girl, her perfume and all started, like, it's just like almost like everything just was down, and I'm just like, what is going on right now? What is going on? So I had to have a second encounter, just to like, okay, like this should tell it all. Like if this is starting to go downhill from there, so I ended up, this was when I got back to Jersey, and this was the time I was on Grindr. I got on Grindr when I was in New Jersey, and still the same. As I'm telling this, I can't believe I did this because most of the time, I had to drive to see these people. I couldn't have them over. I'm living with my parents.
Right.
So there were times I was driving like 30, 40 minutes to see these people. Don't know who they are, what they're about. At nighttime, sometimes 9, 10 o'clock at night. And yeah, that was it. When the second time it happened, I was like, wow, like I'm really this is me. Like, and I came to terms with it. I said, you know what, like this is me. But then what I started to think more is like, how am I gonna go about it now? Like,
right.
My parents don't know, my brothers don't know. I mean, my twin brother was incarcerated at the time, but my older brother, he didn't know, and I was, the people I was hanging around with wasn't, good people who I should have been hanging around with at the time. And I was just like, oh my gosh, first thing I told myself, I can't come out. Like, I just can't. Like, so I say, yeah, probably when it first started for me, it was back in I came out 2014. It was back in 2011 when I started when it really started to increase more, I would say.
So let's talk about the ESPN interview. The interview that went around the world. How was it after the interview? Like the initial. Did you talk to your coaches then before you made the official announcement? Or did everybody find out on ESPN?
So how I went about it is I had I got in touch with Jason Collins because I remember when he came out, it was like a lift off my shoulders. It was like, oh my gosh, there is other people out there who's playing sports and who's the same way as me, and so I got in touch with him, and then he got in touch. Then I got in touch with Wade Davis, who he was an NFL player who came out, and there was a project called You Can Play project, and there people consist people like Billy Bean, who played in MLB, and Kirk Walker, who was a women's softball coach over at UCLA, and a good handful amount of people, and I didn't know exactly, when I wanted to come out. It was just more of just talking to them to like get an idea as far as like if this is a good idea or not. And I remember, they said that, this is a risk, this is a potential risk, this could affect your career. And I said, you know what, let me think about it. And then it took me probably a couple weeks or so, because at the time my teammates ended up finding out. I didn't mention that. My teammates ended up finding out. I was at a gay club in New Jersey, and I get a call. I'm dancing, and I get a call from one of my teammates, and I'm like, why is my teammate calling me? And I pick up, and he's like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm out. And they was like, what club are you at? It's like Club Paradise, which is a gay club in New Jersey. All I heard was laughing in the background, and the phone went dead. And And I was just like, oh my gosh. Like, so what they must have done, they must have did research as far as gay clubs in New Jersey and came upon, Club Paradise. And I was just like, wow. Like, my life is over. Like, so they were teasing me. So in a way, they kind of like forced me even more because, it was constant teasing and heckling and, and I forgive them for what they did, but, not just them, but people have to understand that, people have feelings, and, for such a sensitive thing to make fun of somebody and you think that's funny, it's not funny at all. Like, it's like I could have did something bad, meaning whether it's, no telling what, but it's like, you know what I mean? Like, when you put somebody in that state of mind that, you're constantly teasing them and making them feel like crap, that puts people in a position that, they want to do some crazy stuff. So it's like, and that's why one of the things I hate to this day, I hate bullies. I usually don't use the word hate, but I was bullied, and so I ended up talking to my coaches, and, and that's when You Can Play Project, they came up to the school, met with my coaches. I came out to my teammates before the ESPN stuff, they were all in the locker room, and then, I went in there, I told them first. I went to New Jersey, and then that's when I told my parents, and then the next day, it came on TV, April 12th, if I'm not mistaken. April 11th or April 12th, 2014 when I came out. April 12th, April 12th when I came out. So I told everybody. So it wasn't a surprise. Like, they knew everything. Like, they was there when, because the video that was on ESPN, that was pre-recorded already the day before. Right. They just had it, so it wasn't like that was live the whole time. All that stuff was just pre-recorded. So
got you.
But
so how did your family react?
It took my father some time, believe it or not. Which you gotta go in. One of the things I always tell people, you gotta go into it knowing that it's gonna take time for some people. You can't expect them to, just accept it right away and whatever. Like, no, give them time, give them space. And, my mom, she, in a way, kind of already knew. Like they say, mothers always know. My twin brother was incarcerated at the time. So I had to call him. So when he had called one day, then that's when, I told him. And then he thought I needed counseling and all this other stuff. And, so it took him some time, and that's the thing. Like, I told myself, like, beforehand, like, regardless of how they may feel, like, as long as I'm, happy and I'm fine, then I don't care what they're gonna think, But now, it's not even a big deal. Like, my father doesn't care. Like, I'm very close to my father, very close to my mom, extremely close to my twin brother. My older brother, Mike, who's a police officer, was a huge supporter. He even asked, where did I get the Be True shirt at? It was so many people asking me about that T-shirt, actually, where I got it from. And, I had, someone, a good friend of mine who works at Nike who was able to get it for me. So, but, yeah, it was, it still seems like, time has flown by, but it seems like it was almost like yesterday when, I came out. It doesn't feel like it was, in 2014. It really felt like it was like yesterday. But I will say this: if I could do it all over again, I will. I will come out every day if I could. That's how happy I am. Like, I'm proud of, who I am. I'm not like, when people try to use the whole God thing and you're gonna pay for it's BS. Honestly, I'm a huge believer in God. I'm Christian. Who I don't know who's ever teaching them that is teaching them lies. Or whatever like that may be, because when people say stuff like that, it's just like, really? I'm going to go to hell because I'm gay. Like, come on now. Come on. But, yeah.
I feel you.
Yeah,
So when you came out, were you still at Western Kentucky, or were you at UMass then?
Oh, no. I ended up transferring from Western Kentucky, and I came out at UMass Amherst. And, you know, I ended up transferring there a year later, and then I finished off at Seton Hall University. You know, I wanted to be closer to my family. My family can come watch me play and stuff like that.
So now you talked about the teammates when you had the phone call at when you were at the club. How did it go when you actually sat down with your team and told your team after that? When you had the open conversation with them, did the bullying continue, or how was it then?
The bullying didn't continue. They stopped, but I mean, in general, they didn't handle it the right way either. Like I'm like, you know, if you're gonna be real, be real. Don't say this and that to the media, but then behind the scenes, you know, you're not really messing with me like that. Because most of the time in the dining hall, I really wasn't eating with most of my teammates. I was eating with, you know, my classmates. You know, and I was very close with my classmates, so I was always eating with them. And like I just felt like such an outsider, you know. Or even after when I came out, you know, they went into the showers, like 3-4 of them. And as I'm coming out of the showers, as I'm going into the showers, they all come out. And I took that as such, like, it's so disrespectful, a slap in the face. And then I confronted them about it the next day. I was pissed. And I said, listen, like, told y'all, I said, don't get it twisted. I don't find any of y'all attractive. Even if y'all were, this is my workspace. Like, I wouldn't do that. Like, this is, you know, a place, you know, basketball is, you know, in a way work. Like, I wouldn't do that. So they were, like, shocked when I said that. But, like, they was like, wow, like, he really, like, confronted us about this. I was pissed. I was really upset. I'm like, yeah, y'all being fake. Like, if y'all gonna be my friends, be my friends. If y'all not, then, like, don't go to the media and say this and say that. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, be yourself. Be you. Don't say one thing to the camera and then do another thing. So, yeah, I was pissed when that happened. I was pissed.
I'd imagine, though. I imagine that I don't know what people think, like their mindset concerning that. Like when somebody comes out, it means that they want every man that they see. Like some people think too highly of themselves. Like it don't work like that. You know,
it
like
definitely
that's
don't
really
work
crazy
like that.
though. Right. So now, how was it when you transferred the? Go ahead.
It definitely don't work like that. I don't understand why people. Yeah. I
don't get that. I never. Yeah, they automatically assume like you just can't control yourself around them, and it's like, what?
Right.
Dude, that never even crossed my mind. Now, how was it at Seton Hall? Were the teammates? Was it better there than it was at UMass?
It was okay. It was amazing. It was probably the best. Besides my freshman year, because I would say, you know, your freshman experience is like one of your best experiences in college. But my senior year, was like and they were all freshmen and sophomores, so I was the only upperclassman on the team. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm dealing with all young kids. Not one thing said as far as like the showering thing. They didn't care. We all hung out. We went to the movies. We did this. We did that. It wasn't even an issue at all. And that's why we won the way we did. That's why we, you know, won the Big East championship. I got 3 rings, by the way. Yeah, I got 3 rings. And, you know, that's the way to finish out my college career. I'm the only player in NCAA history to take 3 different teams to the NCAA tournament. The only player to do that. There's been no one else to do that. And, you know, my resume speaks for itself, but it's like, yeah, Seton Hall was epic. It was, I wish I had another year. I was saying that at the end. I'm like, damn, like if I would have just had one more year. But Yeah, I had a lot of fun there. A lot of fun.
Awesome. Now, we're getting close to the end of the interview. I am going to ask you to come back to do part 2 because there's so much more that I do want to ask you. But I want to end tonight's interview. I want to end tonight talking about I had this name on the game as well, the word association. I'm going to say a name. I want you to tell me, what that name means to you. And that name is Kobe Bryant.
Say that one more time about Kobe.
Yeah, Kobe. What? I've been asking people, since his passing. You play basketball. I know some people, that goes back between MJ, Kobe, LeBron. But how did Kobe's game, affect your game, or did it affect your game?
Oh, it did, 100%. I think we all had, moments whether we shooting a paper ball in a garbage can or whatever. Always scream out Kobe and all that. Like I've had plenty of moments like that, but I think how he affected me was just his mentality, just his love and passion for the game, and wanting to be the best. And that's how I was. I didn't care if you were ranked higher than me in the country. Like, I never, cared for rankings. Like, I'm like, listen, we all human. You got to put your shoes on like I put on mine. So I didn't care about any of that. And just his mentality to the game, it just drove me even more. Like, wow, that's the mentality everybody should have. Just that killer mindset that regardless of whoever you put in front of me, they can't stop me. So, and I had that same thing. I don't want to touch on it, that much because I know it's a sensitive topic. But, I said, everybody mourns different, Like, for instance, when my best friend, passed, a couple months ago, it took me a while to get over that. I'm still getting over that. With Kobe, I think if I would have knew him, it would affect, knew him personally, like how some people, like Shaq, Dwayne Wade,
right?
You know what I mean? But so it was more like an outsider looking in. But I think but in a way, you can see that he affected so many people because there were so many people who didn't even know him personally, and people were crying over him. Yes, it's sad because not even just him, the other people who were on board as well. But it's I think it was just a shock to people just because he was only 41 years old. He was young. He was just, living his life, not playing basketball, just getting started, So it's it just makes. I was telling my brother this the other day. It's almost like sometimes, when stuff like this happens, it almost makes me not want to leave the house, believe it or not. It's I know it was such a freak accident. It had nothing to do with the helicopter. Come to find out, it was just super cloudy. But it's almost like when stuff like this happens, and even the situation that happened with my best friend, who no one honestly could ever replace. It almost makes you for me, it's I just want to stay in the house. I don't want to leave the house. I'm safe and secure in the confinement to my home. That's how I feel. Sometimes when stuff like this happens, the stuff with Nipsey Hussle, that was sad too, so it was it's just, and that's why, every day, I'm happy, I live, I do everything that I enjoy every single day, I'm an actor, I'm having the time of my life right now. My life is just getting started, there's so many things that are in store and that's getting ready to happen with me that, I'm looking forward to, I have a book that'll be coming out. I have 2 movies that I have to film this year, both lead roles, which, have a potential, really high potential for me, to get a possible, nomination for Best Actor, which would be a huge deal for, someone who's black and gay. It's a lot of stuff that's in the works right now,
So real quick, because we're great to go off the air, and like I said, I'm going to have you back because I want to finish your story. I want to talk about life after basketball. I even want to talk about the interview you and Darren Young did that a lot of people had a problem with. So I really want to bring you back to talk to you about it.
I want this definitely to be like live too. So if there's a way that this, because I don't want it to be recorded. I want people to be able to hear this live, because there's like, yeah, a lot of people took that way out of context, and like the people who were listening like could understand and realize, because I have a lot of black friends who like they understood exactly what I was talking about, but then you have those ones who are immature and like taking everything out of context and I need counseling, and then what? Like counseling?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I had conversations with people that completely misunderstood what you said. I totally understood what you were saying. I got it. So that's why the next show will definitely be live. It's going to be live, and I want us to hit on that because I want people to be able to call in and even talk about that. So, but what I want you to do before we go, I want you to leave everybody with one thing, one encouraging word, and then tell them how to connect with you.
Brave, you know. Just be brave, you know, whatever. And that's just not even the coming out aspect. Just, you know, that's just life in general. Like, be brave, be yourself. Like, don't worry about, you know, what people are gonna say about you, what people gonna like, how they gonna feel. Like, do whatever. I always tell, one of the things I always say, I don't care if you want to be an astronaut. Like, if that's what you want to do, do it. Don't worry about what that person's gonna say. You don't know. Like, you do you at the end of the day. As long as you love and enjoy doing what you're doing, that's all that matters. Like, and my social media is, my Twitter is Flash, the number 2 and Gordon, and my Instagram is It's Derrick Gordon. Just send me, as I said, just send me a direct message. I'm always constantly checking my messages, and yeah, like I try to get back to as many people as I can, and just as I said, because I know, like how we touched on earlier, we all know how it is, you know, not being able to have that person to talk to. So I try to, you know, talk to as many people as I can. So those, I would say Instagram, just send me a message. That's the best way to get in contact with me.
Awesome. Thank you again, Derrick, for joining us tonight. Thank each and every one of you for listening. As I said, we will be getting Derrick back to have part 2 of this. We want you guys to call in, ask your questions, leave your comments, all those great things. Make sure you connect with him on social media. And as I always say, create a great day, walk with purpose, and by all means, execute your vision. Peace.